Madam President, Bank of America made an announcement this afternoon. They announced that they were eliminating the suggested $5 monthly fee for the use of a debit card. I think we've kept track, and now I believe every bank across America has said we're abandoning this approach. And it's a good thing, because it's an indication to me that consumers across America have a much larger voice in this process today than they did even a few weeks ago. Consumers and customers of major banks paid close attention when many of these banks, like Bank of America, said they were going to charge these customers $5 a month to have access to their own money in their checking account. I was asked at the time, what should we do? And I said, customers of these banks should vote with their feet, start looking for another bank, find a bank or a credit union that treats them in the manner they want to be treated, fairly and respectfully. Well, the message got out, and that message ended up creating a substantial move of customers from some banking institutions to others. Some suggest that the activity on credit union websites is now up 800%. The people at community banks all across America have signs in front of their banks saying, for instance, one in Georgia, "We agree debit cards should be free." What we have at work here is a very fundamental principle of our economy, the free market economy. Transparency, so people know what they're being charged, and competition, so they have a choice. I think those are the two pillars of a successful free market economy. And now the banking industry, in many respects, is being introduced to it. I think this is a healthy thing. Prior to October 28, several large banks had announced they would begin charging monthly debit fees on many of their customers' accounts. Bank of America, $5 a month. Wells Fargo, $3 a month. Chase, $4 a month in some states. SunTrust of Atlanta, $5 monthly fee. Regions Financial of Birmingham, Alabama, $4 monthly fee. Numerous other large banks made clear that they would not charge monthly debit fees, and these banks included U.S. Bancorp, Citigroup, PNC, KeyCorp, USAA, and more. In response to the consumer reaction to this announcement, on Friday, October 28th, Wells Fargo and Chase announced they were abandoning their plans to charge these fees. On Monday, October 31st, SunTrust and Regions Financial announced they would also abandon their fee plans and provide rebates back to customers who'd already paid them. On Tuesday, November 1st, Bank of America announced it would abandon its monthly fee plans. Warren Buffett is a man I know and have come to know and respect, and he is an investor in some of these large banks. And he was asked over lunch recently to react to the Bank of America $5 monthly fee. He lifted his glass of Coca-Cola and said it was like new Coke. It really told the story that sometimes large companies really lose touch with their most basic consumers and their customers and make bad decisions. The question is, what will come of this next? And I think we really ought to ask ourselves, what have we learned from this experience over the last several weeks, and what do we hope that it leads to? Well, certainly we want more transparency, competition, and choice. But in order for that to happen, we need more disclosures so that the average customer of a bank knows what they're getting into. Have any of us taken the time to read the back of that monthly credit card statement? As a lawyer, I can tell you that if you ask for the entire statement concerning fees at banks, it's over 100 pages, almost impossible to decipher. We've got to get down to the basics where we understand our relationship with these financial institutions so we can choose those that serve our needs or the needs of our businesses. That's why the Pew Trust recently came up with a valuable suggestion. They have a disclosure form. One page that lists the basic fees that banks can charge. What they're suggesting is every bank should adopt this, just as we have a basic box in the back of food products with ingredients that we can turn to, how many calories, how much sodium, how many carbohydrates. We could have a basic disclosure on every bank's website so America can go shopping. Competition, free market. I think that's a healthy thing. The second thing that we need to follow on is the discovery that there are such things as swipe fees. We suspected it, but we didn't know what was going on really when we handed over a piece of plastic at a restaurant to buy something or a grocery store. Well, it turns out that every time that's swiped, the retailer, the restaurant, the business, is charged. How much are they charged? A variety of different amounts. And frankly, that grocery store, that bookstore, has no ability to negotiate that fee. It's a take it or leave it. You want plastic from Visa or MasterCard? Then you go ahead and pay this fee or else. That's changed, and the world's changed with it. When the Federal Reserve got the new authority October 1st to put in place a reasonable swipe fee for debit cards at about 21 cents a transaction, things started changing. There's a lot of money at stake. If you add up all the money collected by banks across America for swipe fees for debit and credit cards, it's about $50 billion a year. It's a huge amount. We all pay it. You pay it in your bottom line at the restaurant or at the grocery store or wherever you go shopping, if you use plastic. So now there's a 21-cent ceiling established by the Federal Reserve on debit card fees. And that's what caused all of the reaction by the banks, saying they were going to charge their customers more because of it. We need even more disclosure. For the largest banks in America, the top 1% of banks, if you go to an ATM machine today and put in your card, at some point they will usually notify you what the ATM fee is, accept or not accept. I think that same disclosure should be made on swipe fees. On the monthly credit card statements across America, we should see in parentheses next to our purchases how much was paid by that retailer to the credit card company. I think it will be a surprise to many people as to how much they are paying every time they use plastic. I should say how much retailers are paying and charging their customers every time they use plastic. That is more information. That's more transparency. That allows you to understand the relationship that, to this point, has been hidden in secret. I think that's an important thing. I've also been talking to Senator Reid of Rhode Island. He has some thoughts of interesting legislation that he and I are working on concerning the actual cost of credit card fee transactions to the banks and to the credit card companies, so that we'll have a better understanding in that category as well. So what we're saying, Madam President, is something significant has happened over the last several weeks. I hope it is the beginning of a trend. One way to make sure this trend continues to the benefit of consumers and families and small businesses all across America is to make sure that Richard Cordray is appointed as the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This, to me, is an agency which can continue this battle on behalf of consumers. It is literally the only consumer protection agency in the federal government. Now, many on the other side of the aisle don't like it. They don't believe in strong government oversight of these financial institutions in Wall Street. I disagree. I think Americans deserve to be given the basic information about their financial transactions so that with that information they can make their own decisions. I'm not saying the government should steer them one way or another, but at least give us the basic information. Let me decide the best bank for my family. Let me decide the best credit card or debit card for my family or my business. That's all we can ask. And finally, let me say this. This establishment of a debit card fee limit swipe fee limit is a breakthrough for many retailers. When I talk to retailers large and small, some of them chain stores and others just local stores, they were getting killed with this fee. It turned out to be the second or third most expensive item every single month. After personnel, after rent, here came the swipe fees that they had to pay to Visa, MasterCard, and the banks that issue their cards. Now these retailers feel like there's been a light that's been shined on this process and a limit that's been established when it comes to debit cards. Sadly, it's been abused. Redbox, which is a retailer of movies that most of us see even in Springfield, Illinois, next to the drugstore where you put in $1 and take a movie home, announced that they had to raise the price of their movies from $1 to $1.20 because of this new law. We looked into it, and here's what happened. They used to be charged a lower swipe fee by the debit and credit card companies. But now these companies are trying to make up their money that they're losing from this ceiling, and they're passing higher charges along to Redbox. So some companies, I think, need help. The Federal Reserve has continuing jurisdiction and authority when it comes to that help. And I hope that they will take a look at some of the consequences to companies like Redbox. I think what happened to them is unfair. And I think the Federal Reserve has the authority to change it. So we are at a tipping point. For years, the big banks have been rigging the rules with a lot of fees and charges we were not even aware of. The consumers of America have said enough. Through a combination of reasonable regulation and consumer voting with their feet, we are bringing transparency and competition back to the financial services industry. It's working, and it's long overdue. Consumers are now saying they'll only do business with banks that care about serving them instead of squeezing them. It's a good thing. We've got to do more things. Let's confirm Richard Cordray, and let's get it done soon so the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau can go to work to help us. Let's ensure that all bank fees are transparent, such as with the model checking account fee disclosure that I mentioned earlier from the Pew Charitable Trust, and ensure that all swipe fees are transparent because consumers ultimately pay those fees in higher prices. By promoting transparency and competition, we're going to help restore the balance between Wall Street and Main Street.